Welcome to another episode of Tres Leches Radio, representing 1/3 of the trio. It's yours truly, Mr. Rad. So, gentlemen, what's up?
Hey, man, forever is a mighty long time.
I like that better than my intro.
Oh, man.
What you got, Renzo? You got to top that.
Oh, I got the intro ready for it, so we good to go. But you know what it is. Oh, the guy Rensmatic, what it do.
Oh, no, I meant like you got to top Brandon's, like, hello.
Oh, I got it. We're going to open up here. No, I got that. I'm saving that.
Well, as always, welcome back, y'all. We have, second episode of the year. As always, we are Tres Leches Radio at everything on social media except TikTok. We're getting there. And if you want to stream us, we're also on Amazon Music and not Apple Music, but Spotify. Yes, I got that correct. And 18 and over because we may curse a little bit. And without further ado, Renzo, what you got for us today, man?
Man, what can I say? What's a king without a crown? Because forever and a day we waited to give this hometown hero from Meridian, Mississippi, his digital roses. So let's give it up for the one time for the king of remember time, Crizzle, aka Big K.R.I.T.
Oh, snap.
You know what I mean?
Renzo with the heavy artillery. He said, so with the intro. He's like,
Kobe. You know what I mean?
Damn. Renz was here. Shit.
Oh, yes. Renz was here. Renz is here as well. Past, present, and future.
Oh, shit. So you're speaking about none other than Mr. K.R.I.T.
Mr. K.R.I.T. Yeah, man. Yes, and as we already know, he just did drop off a new album, Digital Roses, Never Die, which came out with
Don't Die, only because we got to be factually correct.
Yes, Don't Die. Just this past Friday, so still marinating with it, but we talked about this guy in so many different podcasts. We highlighted him, in the 2010 era, and me and B-Stacks had him ranked up number 2 in that class. I believe you had him Ray at 3. At that time.
He made all our lists. Yeah.
Definitely made our list. So he's definitely been a force to reckon with. But even before we indulge into that album, like what were our first impressions? Because K.R.I.T. been out here for a minute. It's 2022 now, so 10 years plus in the game at this point.
I got to give my digital roses to Lorenzo because you know me, I'm the big Southern hater of the podcast, and at the time, and Renzo will tell you. I mean, at this point, B-Stacks no, but back then, you think about the year this is like 2010, 2011. I remember seeing K.R.I.T. like the K.R.I.T. was here promoted on all the blogs, notright.com, all these hip hop sites, but I wasn't jumping for any Southern artists because the new era of the South for me, I wasn't impressed with past the point. So it was kind of like ruined for me. But so I didn't actually listen to K.R.I.T. was here in real time. But Renzo, I remember we were talking on AIM. That's how much we're dating ourselves. And he told me about Return of Forever being just fire. I eventually got out my own way, pressed play on it, and that was all it took. took. Return of Forever was the first project. There's no better project you can introduce yourself to from K.R.I.T. than Return of Forever. And that's the one I listened to. And Jesus Christ. So thank you, Lorenzo. You getting your digital roses as well.
Thank you.
What about you, B-Stacks?
Yeah, I gotta speak more of the same. So I put K.R.I.T. in a class with him, Odyssey, Blue, Terminology. Those guys to me are like that, tier of guys that they're not like Coles or Kendricks or Drakes, but they carry weight and have a cult following. Renz actually put me on K.R.I.T. as well, and I remember we were kind of exchanging just artists to check out, and I was like, yo man, you need to check out Odyssey. He's like, yo, you need to check out K.R.I.T. And yeah man, it's the same. I gotta give credit to Renz on that one, and man, I was hooked, bro. K.R.I.T. was here, Return of Forever in a Day. Basically like that whole 2010 to 2012 realm with K.R.I.T. Man, all just mixtape smashes, bangers, man. I'm like, man, who is this guy with Outkast infusion with UGK, with a 3-6? I'm like, oh man, he just what we needed.
And the crazy thing is, I'm glad you said that, Brandon, because the good thing is when an artist has those kind of influence, or when an artist is good enough and you hear who their influences are, it's also enough sometimes to make you work backwards. Like me, I didn't grow up listening to UGK, But then, like, hearing those influences, it'll make me want to go backwards and be like, well, damn, if that's who influenced you, I want to hear what they did too. So like again, like you said, Outkast, UGK. I think Renz, I don't know if you said it's a little bit of 8-Ball MJG in there.
Yeah, you definitely hear
there's a lot
that,
of the whips, the stuff for the whips.
Yeah,
and
the slab talk is definitely, like how you said, Houston, heavily influenced. But yeah, it's funny though, because like when I first heard of KRIT, it was by chance. I think I was supposed to go to the Smokers Club tour one of the years back. Can't even remember what venue it is because it's shut down now prior to COVID. Some of these
Blockley?
smaller venues. No, not the Blockley.
You saw me
not the Blockley. The one down in Chinatown.
Trocadero.
Yeah, Trocadero. Yeah,
This Philly
so,
for you guys tuned in.
Yeah, so I was supposed to go because it was supposed to be night of, but I think the tickets sold out. But I remember it was saying like, Wiz Khalifa, Currency, and Big KRIT. And I'm like, what the hell is a Big KRIT? So right there alone, I'm like, so I'm like, well, let me just check this dude out. I'm like, if he's with Currency, if he's with Wiz, maybe he's on that type. I'm thinking he's more on that, more of the smoking vibe type raps, initially, which he had some of those type tracks. But my introduction was KRIT was here. My first song intro was a Hometown Hero. I'm like, all right, this is cool, nice vibe. But then when I start hearing the thing from beginning to end, I'm like, oh shoot, like this is Pimp C swagger with a very lyrical mind skill set of Bun B. Initially when you first heard that album,
he's the best parts of both of them.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm listening to. I'm like, this dude is in the wrong era. That's the first thing I thought about, because based off who was out at that time, when you talk about the Drakes and Kendrick, they kind of sounded like they were supposed to be in this era. You hear in KRIT, like he's an old soul, literally. Especially when we talk about Return Forever. And now he's going real soul sample heavy, and it was almost like a complete different direction from KRIT was here, which I see why you like that more more soul, not so much old school Southern.
And Renz, to quote you said right, old soul. Even when I was kind of just going back, 8-Ball MJG said he's an old soul. Said that about KRIT as well. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's younger than us. He's 35. He's like, I think, so that's the thing about where his mindset musically and everything like that. And, that's the influence he pulled from, and you mentioned the Blockley, right? That's probably one of the best shows. Like we always said that might have been top 5 shows, period, that we've been to. Cause that was live from the Underground tour. So when we first saw him, like, we expected to have a dope show. But like to see him come live with no reverb, no crazy hype man, and to pretty much do the best of KRIT mixtape series, take like a 10-minute break and come back and do almost another. He literally did almost a 2-hour set, literally. And just the artistry, and you could tell like there's we talked about MC and rapper, like he's an MC, like he took that craft seriously as far as being a true master of the ceremony. I can't even say that even with some of the vets that I've seen, who couldn't pull off a show like him. And this is a guy on his first major tour, and everything. So that's his
Paul Wall and Slim Thug. I never thought.
We had a groupie moment when that happened. So Paul Wall came out.
Oh shit! Wow. Man. And you know what, man? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm gonna say shout out to Steve, man, because he hates Southern rap in general. But we brought him out there. He was mad the whole time because when the track when Pull Up Is Over came on, me and Brandon had our own little dance. Steve's like, "What the hell y'all doing?"
Oh man, but that's a banger. When I pull up,
when
it's
pull
over.
Up, it's over. He's like, what is this?
He said, "What is this?" He wanted an explanation on the spot. What the fuck? Damn show.
He's our version of you, Ray. Like,
man, but I like KRIT. I really
like he's worse. Yeah.
Okay, all right. No, but you know what, man? Like when it comes to KRIT too, like. That's one of those things. I'll openly admit I'm like the biggest like modern Southern era hater. But when somebody emerges and is dope, like I don't have to like fight like expressing like or showing love, because when it's dope, no matter where you're from. You know what I mean? And what I like about him is think about the era that he came in, right? Like it was like that. I know he had started putting out stuff in like the mid 2000s, but he really popped in like the 2010s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I liked about him is he wasn't making any of the ringtone stuff. He wasn't leaning on the trap beats. He wasn't leaning on auto-tune, and he wasn't, and the triplet flow, the Migos flow, he wasn't doing none of that. And he's from the dirty South, from Meridian, Mississippi. He had every reason to do that over his own beats. And he really didn't lean on that stuff. You know what I mean? And he wasn't like just loud for the sake of being loud. You know what I'm saying? Like he he can rap to every every fan base. He got the stuff for your trunk, he got the stuff for your mind, he got the stuff for your heart, and then he's got the stuff for your ears, which is just like bars. You know what I mean? Like he really can. You can put him in any position. You know what I'm saying? And that immediately like stood out to me from him, like right off the bat.
Yeah, his versatility is just phenomenal. Like even a boom bap where you think some Southern rappers couldn't hold, he outshined. Like I can't remember the name of the track, but it was like him, Joey Badass, and Smoke DZA.
One Train.
Talking about One Train, but One Train was he did his thing on One Train. But
that was a Hit Boy beat too, by the way.
Yeah. But I mean, it was like a mixtape cut, it was like a B-side John, but like he destroyed both of New York rappers on their own style beat, you know. So that's to speak on his versatility. Like
he raps like he's got something to prove. He doesn't do the you know how Wayne will just be very random. Like K.R.I.T's not random with his bars. They all make sense. You know,
Exactly. So when we're speaking about, as you know, we talk about versatility. We talk about the different sounds of K.R.I.T. And it seems like each album has a different sound, different vision. Now let's look at unpacking now this album here. You know, to me, like it wasn't what I was expecting. You know, I didn't know what to expect off the first single alone. Hearing it, because I like the single, but I'm like, where is this really going? And then actually unwrapping it.
Oh, you were hesitant when you heard So Cool?
It wasn't so much I was hesitant. I think one thing about K.R.I.T, and I think I was going to talk about it later, is that sometimes I don't think he picks the best lead-off singles as far as the album rollout. So I didn't know what kind of vibe I was really expecting, you know, per se. You know, now look at it now, I see why he did it, but at the same time, I was like, would this be the best first single, you know, for album, you know, choosing here? But yeah, let me know your thoughts, you know, with initial thoughts with the album though.
Go ahead, B-Stacks.
Yeah, that lead off song, I heard that maybe like 2 weeks ago, and it's pretty obvious, like, okay, like this is the single, you know what I mean? That was a song that was kind of pushed more, had the video. It's an upbeat, you know, type of nice, cool vibe. I didn't really have no impressions on it, you know what I mean? I was just like, okay, this is cool. This is a nice little lead off. But going into the album, honestly, like every song kind of plays like one whole song to me. Really plays like a complete body of work. There's a few tracks that stand out and like in a good way, but I think the fire track of the album is Road Clean, man. I mean,
ironically, fire track is that in the fire segment of the album. You know how you got them broken down by elements?
Yeah.
Because I'm just saying you timed that really well. You said that perfectly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah. He knew what he was doing, bro. That Road Clean, I played it like 8 times. I shared it with the fellas like in real time. I mean, I just couldn't. I was stuck. I couldn't get past that.
Yeah, you said like, you were like, yo, I'm stuck on this. I haven't gone past the rest of the album yet.
Oh, so fire. You could always depend on K.R.I.T to give you something like that. Like he'll give you, like Ray said earlier, he'll give you like the diverse, you know, type of styles, but you can always count on him for some like country, like old soul, you know, with a nice 808 knock in, like just something smooth, man.
Something you could chop blades to, even if you do not possess the vehicle. I know this.
I ain't got no wood grain, but I feel like
neither do I. Shit, cloth material.
I also put it on my son.
You know what I mean? But yeah, to me, so far, Road Clean is the standout fire track on that album.
Yo, I will say when So Cool came out, it actually got me excited. Pause, because when it was a sound I felt I hadn't heard him on yet. So even though it was like that drum is very thin, the snare drum, and it was an up tempo, and I wanted up tempo because look, we're already we're approaching. Winter's going to be done sooner than we realize. And I think that song is perfect for like spring, summertime barbecues, windows down, driving. So I feel like he went with the right one when I look at it that way. But I will say, when you think about how it falls in the album, I do interpret it a little differently. There's how it's presented as a single and then where it falls in the album structure. But I'll say as far as the lead off single, I was feeling it. I will say that. I was like, okay. And then like the album comes out and you see it's only 38 minutes. He doesn't usually make very short albums. This might be, in terms of like his official albums, right? Because his other stuff is technically deemed mixtapes. This might be his shortest project, I think, right?
Probably I think at this point. Yeah. Because like forever in my long time, they were like same runtimes, but there was 2 discs though. two albums.
Yeah,
so,
he broke them up. I think it's like 30 minutes each. Yeah,
30, 35, somewhere around that. But it's funny because you were talking about the So Cool. After listening to the album, I actually like the placement of So Cool because to me it kind of made more sense once hearing the album as a whole. What I thought about this album as I digested, I worked out to a couple times, listened to on my travels, was like, and I want to put in the same comparison to this album because definitely not. But I think this is almost like his Love Below album, like with Andre, because I think I look at him from an MC to I'm an artist. You know what I mean? And I looked at this album as almost like essentially like a love letter. Because when you
that's
look
exactly
at the themes,
what I felt like. Yeah, love letter.
when you look at the themes and the songs, I think like Prototype, when Andre's talking about the type of woman he wants, and if you're not the one, this is what I'm looking for. And then I listened to K.R.I.T when he's like Just For You, which is probably one of my favorite cuts on the track. And he simply is saying, I let you meet my mom. I'm like, oh, you ain't nobody ever just gonna meet your mom. It's not breezy. He's talking about love at this point. He's talking about the track like Born. Like, I'm cool sitting there watching TV all day with you. Like, we don't have to go out. We don't have to, hit the club scene. Me and you are good. So I saw this as one big love letter from the ups, downs, and him. To me, I think this is like probably the most free he's ever been. I think like with the previous albums, like we were saying before, he had something to prove. Like, I'm from the South, I have something to prove. Just let I'm as lyrical as any of you guys, East, West, whatever. And then when he with the Def Jam turmoil, when and him coming independent, now I have something to prove coming independent art. Now it's like, I can just let loose now. I can be free. I can be happy. I don't need to make any angry, aggressive songs. I just want to smooth it out. And that's the impression I got from this album. I'm listening to it because it's a vibe. You know what I mean? I almost put it in the same, almost like how with Snoop Bush's album, it was a vibe. It was a real mellow, nice, chill, like you said, summertime vibes. I looked at it, you know what I mean? As you might put in the work the night before, and the next day you try to make some eggs and turkey bacon. No swine, some turkey bacon. I throw this album on.
There is pork on my fork.
They ain't halal.
I think too, what we're seeing in real time is that he's done with trying to cater to like 5 different types of styles. He's like, if y'all didn't get it, then it's over. Like, now I'm going to Jupiter, and y'all can remain on Earth. I'm going to Jupiter, and he's like the creative freedom, the bravery, I say. I think that's what we're witnessing right now.
So he does a lot more singing on this. Like, for me, this album was like his cross between like 808s and Heartbreak and Life Is Good. When you think about the themes those projects covered, he's doing way more singing on this. And not for nothing, like, I've seen people kind of bashing that he was singing, but I'm like, yo, if you have followed him along the way, he has sung before. He has sung in the last decade. So like, so when I listened to the album, him singing didn't strike me as odd at all. It wasn't until I was kind of reading some of the receptions to it on Reddit and stuff, and like some people were complaining. I'm like, this is not new. He's doing more of it. Maybe your expectation was you wanted him to bar out and stuff, and I get it, but that wasn't, you know what I mean? I don't think that's a fault on this album. You know what I mean? And I agree with you, Renz. This is, it's definitely a love letter. When you look at it, the album flows, and I guess he broke it up with those elements on purpose, because with Fire, it seems like he's in his carefree vibe, and then what was the next one? Then it goes into like Earth, and then like as the album progresses, he gets to like the carefree part, and then he transitions to impressing the girl, meeting the girl, loving the girl, and then losing the girl, and how he feels having lost the girl. And I mean, can we all agree, K.R.I.T, like when you get to the album, K.R.I.T is going through it. K.R.I.T is down bad, but at the end of this, the whole the title of the album was it Digital Roses Don't Die. When by the time he like the album, like he explains what that means, that this is my forever letter to you. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciated our time together. This is grown up stuff that people who might have even been younger than us in 2010 who are following him. Like, this is the stuff that's gonna happen in life. It ain't always gonna be the trunk bumping and the lines at the club and all that. So I'm not mad at this project. I'm not.
No, and that's why I kind of compared to Love Below, because when that came out, they're like, why is Andre singing? Why is he doing this? Why is he not barring out? And like you're saying, some of the reception is there, and it's like people grow, and to me, that's what's the beautiful thing about the culture. You know, kind of look at this same way how you talk about Life is Good, like Kingsley. We're talking about more grown up issues. We're not always going to talk about the cars, fast life, fast women and stuff. It's like, oh, you know, I had love, I lost love, but I'm still appreciative of that love, you know. And he's expressive about it. You know, he was able to bare his soul in an artistic way where I felt like musically played beautifully from, you know, from start to finish, you know, ultimately.
The king remembered in time gives his queen remembered in time, roses forever preserved in time. That's my tagline for the album.
Woo!
Had to get it out there.
All right.
That's my, you know, like they say, like elevator pitch. Like if he had to pitch the album, I think that's how you sum it up right there, while including his own acronyms in there.
Yeah. Cool. I like how he's been like, because I've been checking to see like what publications he's been doing and what interviews, and I like how he's keeping it very like just himself. He's doing it very impersonal, Twitter or live from his handle. Mm-hmm. Like he has not gone to any big publication yet to talk about this album yet, and I dig that.
Yeah, I mean, he did the album listening on YouTube. You know, that's to make it more, you know, personal for fans.
Right.
Yeah, I think ever since he left the whole Def Jam scene, I mean, he was used to being independent like before he did his Def Jam stretch. And then now I think he just resumed it. Like he's just all about all his chips been in on the whole multi imprint. Yeah. So that's why I think he takes control of it, like doing, like you said, the Twitter, the Facebook, all of that. It's very smart. You know, he's cutting out a lot of the middlemen, and you know, hopefully he's seeing the financial benefits of that, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, right now, like, do we feel like this is a top album? I'm not saying it's too early in the year, but is it a stellar album? Is something that you think you're just gonna kind of lean to the side, or you think this is something that's gonna stand with, you know, within the test of time?
I think it's a good end. Oh, go ahead, B-Stacks.
Yeah, I mean, C Webb would love to be on.
Yo, he said Blood Ashes on the track too. On one of the tracks I said.
He did. You caught it. You caught it.
Oh,
no, man. Shout out to Chris Webber. Shout out to Juwan Howard, matter of fact.
Oh man.
Michigan.
No timeouts.
I think this album, man, we'll see. I think hip hop audience is growing and evolving rapidly, right? The ears and listeners are able to take in like deep projects a little more so than what they would have 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I see this album being a nice jam for like the spring, summer, and it can kind of fulfill its own lane. I don't think that it will, you know, I think there'll be other albums that will fulfill like the crunk and bang, you know, criteria. You know what I mean? This is, like you said, this is going to be the vibe jam out album. You know, you might play this on a Sunday or Saturday morning or late Saturday night. You know what I mean? But this ain't gonna be
something.
I don't think this gonna be the joint that you hear, you know, bumping out the car Saturday afternoons, just because this is not afternoons tunes. You know, for the most part. But I think that for the trajectory of the career, hell yes. This will be on play, on repeat. For sure.
This album is going to be a conversation piece when you discuss like his catalog, because he went a little bit left, you know what I mean? And he went with this love letter loose concept, you know, and that's usually what gets the conversation, right? When Kanye did 808s, there's plenty of discussions there, right? Whenever people deviate a bit, and I don't even think he went so far left that he's, you know, using sounds that are foreign to him. I think he stays within his realm, you know. Like I said, sung a little more. I just think this will be a little bit more of a conversation piece, but it shows that you know, you can't get complacent. So much like how he has a track called Boring, you won't get that from him in his catalog, because he doesn't mind taking that next step or that creative leap, or, you know, just kind of seeing what works, what doesn't, you know. So like I said, I mean, this only came out Friday. You know, I still want to let this play a little more, but I do think at the very least, this is a good album. This is not a bad album. So some of the preliminary stuff of like anybody saying it's a bad album, I have to kind of ask, where do you stand on KRIT long before this album? And I'm not like trying to be an ass kiss to KRIT, because, you know, like some albums from any artist are going to be better than others. But either way, I think this album will be a conversation piece because of how he presented it. So
exactly. And I think it's easy digestible given the time frame, like 38 minutes. Now, had this been, let's say, an hour, a little bit longer. I can see some people saying, okay, this might have been dragging a little bit, but that 38 minutes was perfect for everything he was trying to execute, in such a short amount of time.
And honestly, the content is so deep.
Yeah, so deep and layered.
Like an hour.
Because he unpacks a lot. Like for me, I'm finding right now, because I'm looking at the album by the elements, and right now I notice I've been stuck on that the wind part of the album, right? So that's it's over now. Wet lashes, shot glasses, all the time. More so that, and I think those are the last 4 tracks or something. For some reason, there's something he did a little extra on those that's just resonating with me right now. That's where I am, 3-4 days into the album. I'll say that,
Yeah, I can dig that. So, I mean, we were talking about how you say in earlier stacks, there ain't nothing that you can play Saturday afternoon, but let's talk about what can you play in your sub? Let's look at his projects here. Now, we kept this kind of loose and open. So we know that KRIT mixtapes play like albums. So what are our top 3 KRIT projects, whether they mixtape, albums, whatever? What do we see as far as the top 3 go-to albums if you had to put somebody on?
Go ahead, B-Stacks. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we was kind of breaking down earlier, man. I think KRIT, he's an acquired taste that's unacquired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's a fashion that once you wear it, hear it, you're damn, I didn't even need to get into this. There was no membership, there was no buy-in, right? This should be for everybody, but everybody just doesn't know it's there. And with that being said, this is hard, man. But I honestly, he's heavily favored on the mixtapes. But I like 2 of his major albums, actually, the most. I mean, Forever and a Day and Return of Forever, I kind of they could go left or right. It depends on the day. You know what I'm saying? But KRIT Was Here and Return of Forever are the other 2 just masterful pieces, man. I mean, the double disc joint was just one of my bangers repeatedly. I got to go with those 3. Like I said, Return of Forever, Forever and a Day. I don't know, man. It depends what day it is. You know what I mean?
So for either way, something as long as that forever in this in your top 3.
Right. Right. That theme is gonna be in there. But yeah, for sure, those are my joints I'm gonna point to people.
Yo, as I was going just through this, and just listening to his music for the last few weeks, number one, I think KRIT has more than enough here. He could do a versus, honestly. He's got an easy 20. Is the number one thing, you know what I mean? And I'm talking 20 knockouts. He's got the hits here, So if I'm putting, narrowing it down to projects, I have found that the projects I enjoyed the most, as of right now, is Return of Forever. I think that's hands down his classic, is number one. Everything aligned: the beats, the samples, the rhymes, the content, the album length. The album's over, that project is over 20 tracks, and everything belongs, and it's not him drowning in features. It's him, and with just a couple of features here and there. Ludacris is on there, Chamillionaire. I loved King Remembered in Time. Well, also, and then that came out after his Live from the Underground, and I felt that it outdid his Def Jam and I like his Def Jam debut. I like it a little better now than I did then. But King Remembered in Time, as a free release, showed you that when he's independent, he's got the creative freedom. You don't got to worry about sample clearances and whatnot. And then I would say after that, I say Forever and a Day, man, because of songs like Temptation, Insomnia, you know what I mean? Red Eye, you know what I mean? It's just, he really hit a stride there. So I would say those are the 3 that if I was going to put somebody on, probably in that order, I'd be yo, you're going to get a nice serving here, and you're gonna want more after you get to these 3. So come back to me when you've listened to these 3.
Ray, did you say Forever Is a Mighty Long Time?
No, I said Return of Forever, King Remembered in Time, and Forever and a Day. And what's interesting, KRIT also has the My Sub series. He didn't have it on the song, the album here, because it wouldn't have made sense. But I like that he's 6 volumes into the whole My Sub series. You know what I mean? But yeah, those are my 3 that I would say is to put somebody on.
Can't remember the time is phenomenal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. What's it called? Forever is a mighty long time. That's
time.
yo, like the sample screaming on that.
Yo.
Oh my god, man.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely for the sub right there.
Yes.
And it's crazy, man. Like, I know we joked about this right over the years, but it's almost like we gotta get a DNA test one of these days, man. Cause like that's my same exact order.
That's your same. You got like
that. I had flip flopped initially before I started re-reviewing the albums. I had Remember Time as my top slot.
Mm-hmm.
After re-listening to Return of Forever, I'm like, nah, that's going back up to the rightful spot. I think with that, like you said, and this one is longer project. I think that one's like, about 72 minutes or whatever, but it doesn't feel like you're sitting there for 72 minutes. He has the right type of blend, right type of tracks on it. Like you say, not a whole lot of features. Like you say, he got Luda, he got Bun on there, and so forth. But I think that was like pretty much like his, if you had to introduce somebody with this one project, I would say that would be the album, because you got a little bit of soul, you still got a little bit of the country flavor in there, but it's not an overabundance. So you get a little bit of different features. You get some of the social commentary in there. You still get some of the like the trunk stuff and everything else.
Yeah, and if you're from the East Coast, friends, he's got samples and he's got fire samples in there.
That's why I think that we gravitate towards that one so much, because that wasn't really a Southern sounding album.
Yeah,
it had that theme, but it was very like soul sample heavy, where you can see a lot of different East Coast rappers hopping on that style production. So that was my one. Oh, you about to say something?
Yeah, Renz, and that's why you said like because your question was, where will we point people to? And that's why like can't remember the time and Forever is a mighty long time to me are the better of his projects regardless. But I'm not going to direct people there. I'm gonna go more so like Forever and a Day, KRIT was here, because like you said, like you building those like blocks, foundations of can you even get down with this artist? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's my number one, KRIT. And then like you mentioned, King Remember Time, especially coming out after Live from the Underground, this phenomenal project. I didn't really see any mishaps there.
Live was good. Live was good.
Yeah. I look at it almost like that should have been maybe the album that he came out with versus, Live from the Ground, because I think he had the singles there on that album. And I think that one should have a little bit more range, the Live from Underground.
He expanded. If you're talking about King Remembered in Time, it felt like he had evolved his sound.
Exactly.
For the better, yo.
Yeah. I felt like Live from Underground, great. I did like that album, but I felt like it was almost kind of like a Def Jam Force project saying, hey, we want you to make this type of sound because you're a Southern artist. And he did it within realms. He still tried to have that creative outlet, but it felt like he was limited. That where ways he didn't want to be limited. Versus when King Remember Time came out, this is almost like, had I had more freedom on the actual major release, this is how my album would have sounded like. I wonder
if his limitations were also strictly budget, because he samples a lot. So because he wasn't like a flagship Def Jam artist, was he limited by that? Because Renz, like Live from the Underground, 2012, King Remember the Time, 2013, they're a year apart, and list the difference. You know what I mean? And the difference in when he's giving it away for free, because he has to, so he don't have to clear samples. So I definitely think there was some budget constraints there, especially because he still had to get his features on the debut album, Luda, Bun B, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
2 Chainz,
Two Chainz, yeah. And then, as you mentioned, Forever and a Day, I think that one, even that could have been like, because you look at that album, it wasn't as sample heavy as his previous releases. It's almost like sonically, it's kind of similar in some ways to Live from the Underground, but I felt like it was more within his creative range, and he had so many different anthems. Try to get this, something, Temptation, Red Eye. I just felt like there were so many, even Boot Miles, my old school, there was so many ways you can pull, dissect where, with the proper push, could have had everything moving, because when I first heard Forever and a Day, I'm like, okay, I see you trying to go with a little bit more anthem-based tracks, but they're still not forced. They're still like you can bob to, you can still play around. And I say, okay, he's just doing this to do it. He's, showing his, authenticity, within his range. So those are my top three that if I had to put somebody on, like you mentioning, those would be the ones I would go to first. But like, for everybody a long time, I mean, for artists, we're talking about 2010s, and there hasn't been a lot of artists that came out with double albums. you know, like Drake, but that was like all filler material. Like he had 2 quality albums, and you know, we talk about the how hard for artists to do that, and he did it so seamlessly, you know, and it went so under the radar because that same year when Damn came out, everybody was talking about Damn, which was a phenomenal album. It was almost like that album to me is on the same level as a Damn, you know, for Kendrick,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah, I like the album. Like me personally, I probably still put Damn above it, but I get what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, he did do his. You know what he was smart in doing with that is I'm looking at it now. So actually, one album is 39. One disc is 39 minutes. The other one is 45. So he didn't make it. He made it like he didn't drown it in songs. Like All Eyes on Me is over 2 hours. You know what I mean? So he worked. I think he took lessons from the previous guys and knowing where we're at now, and he also didn't make them too long where it's you run the risk of filler, you know.
Exactly. So the rap things that like we talk about throughout, we're talking about, you know, as far as like you were saying, stacks that might not be on the same level as the Coles, the Kendricks, and you know, talk about artists claim. Like, is it safe to say, you know, and y'all agree, disagree, is he kind of almost become like the AZ of our generation in the sense where he's kind of under radar a lot, but he's always got, like you said, they got that cult following. When you know he's coming out, people are looking for it. Is he kind of becoming that type of artist? Granted, he's not an AZ style rapper, but as far as his movement is concerned,
Man, I would say in spirit, yes, you know, Big K.R.I.T is a parallel to an artist like AZ. But I would say results, I would say no. Because, you know, like, I don't know, they're kind of just different in outcome. Like, you know, like AZ's first album goes gold on a major distributed budget, you know, along with the firm, you know, right after that. So he's got a gold and a one-time platinum album. K.R.I.T's inability to make major record label success to me is his Achilles heel, and like the indie and his mixtape is his glue. You know, you look at albums like Catalytica, which should have been a freaking classic. Honestly.
Yeah, I thought it was a phenomenal album.
Yeah, but it's the debut he should have dropped, you know,
right.
like on a major label. Yeah, I wish he had kicked off with that.
That right. So it's like that's the proof where you see this guy kind of struggles when he's got like that the major, you know, kind of light scope on him versus the indie, you know, independent scene. So I would say results wise, no. And it looks like for the rest of his career, it'll just probably look like this, right? Like I and who knows, he could be one of those artists that like pick up steam like mad later, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like go, I don't know, go diamond for something that was like that none of us thought could even be possible. But as of right now, it looks like he's going to just be a cult favorite, and you know, which is cool. Like he'll be steady for a mighty long time.
Yeah.
You know what's one thing I noticed about him, and Renz, you use the example of, you know, his peers that are on majors and have the success, right? Cole, K.R.I.T, and Drake, right? You know, when you look at like all of them had like an indie path and then eventually all went mainstream. Drake was picked up by an established Young Money, Cash Money. Cole was picked up by an established Rock Nation. So you got Jay-Z there. You know, Drake's backing is, you know, Lil Wayne. Kendrick was picked up by an established Interscope Aftermath, and you have Dr. Dre there, right? K.R.I.T, by the time he signs to a major, he's just in a sea of artists. He's just another name on a roster. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't backed by one of those A-listers there. And I always wondered, like, if, you know, at that time, you know, I think the most popping label was Good Music. If there was just somebody else on that label popping that had picked him up to continue a brand or kick off another franchise, I wonder if it goes different from him, because now you got that cosign. Maybe that opens up your budget a little more. You know, I wonder how it turns out for him. There are some parallels with the whole like AZ thing. Maybe he's a little bit like I don't know, maybe also like kind of like Cormega, you know what I'm saying? Where Mega has the following, but he's never really had like he's associated to mainstream, but he's never really had mainstream success. But he has a dedicated independent following. Like when he drops, like, you know, I feel like the same people show up every time. So I do think, but to your example, whether there's an AZ or just a somebody who is very talented, but the numbers don't show it. Yeah. I mean, he's made music here. Imagine if Return of Forever got an album release. Imagine if that was his debut album pushed by majors and samples cleared. I think you got a gold album right there. You know what I mean? So there are some parallels to to there, but there's parallels there, and then there's, like I said, there's things you can kind of point to. He never had that big A-lister behind him like his other peers do, and therefore they're still more known than he is.
Yeah, and you got to remember too. So we actually, and what A, but maybe close to A was, remember he was actually discovered by Sha Money XL. So Sha Money XL got him to Def Jam, but soon after, Sha Money XL got booted from Def Jam. And I think when we look at label politics, I think that he got lost in the shuffle there, because by the time the album came out, I didn't really felt like Def Jam had a real direction, even with Catalactica, where I think that direction should have been there, because I felt that here's a well-balanced album. You had radio singles there, and you had B-cut songs there. You have the Mount Olympus, which he was answering to Kendrick, where I don't think they really capitalized on that as far as that push. It's almost like, and we talk about he's old soul, so like sonically he's not fitting, let's say, like the more typical South trap rapper, and like, oh, we can't really promote you this way because you're not in the right lane right now. As you allude to, I do like the Cormega example, because Cormega, strong co-founder, but never had that real major album success. Where, like you say, AZ, he had that gold album, and he was on majors. He decided to go on independent. Like, he was never drop AZ to say, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna go independent because I'm better off with the word KRIT. He always felt like he was an underground artist to begin with, and it's almost like when he got on the majors, like he didn't feel comfortable in his skin. Now he's truly comfortable in his skin. He got a big enough following where he don't need to have the big singles, because everything is coming through him now, through multi-alumni. So, more of those residuals coming back to him versus where they weren't on a major. So I think this probably will say the route, unless it's, a situation where he gets that second one like Freddie Gibbs, and then gets, put on a major, after the fact. But I mean, I think he's in a lane that he's comfortable with, and he looks like he's going to, keep progressing from here. I'm just waiting to see more of the evolution.
And anyone who's like not aware, like Sha Money XL, he was a big part of like the early G Unit success with picking beats and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It would have been great to see how that worked out. I just wonder, see, Sha Money XL, some of us know him, but everybody knows who Lil Wayne, Jay, and Dre is. But I will say, I remember when that signing happened, I thought KRIT had a chance. I definitely thought, because when you're Sha Money XL and you have G Unit likes Heyday on your resume, especially Get Rich or Die Trying like era, I definitely wonder what happens for him there. What's one thing KRIT doesn't do though, that I think Kendrick definitely does, Kanye does, and even Outkast does, right? To use like a Southern example, when he goes from album to album, even though there is a slight change in sound, he doesn't master one sound and then jump to a completely different sound. Like Kanye, Outkast, and even Kendrick, they don't have two albums that sound alike at all. They change their sounds drastically. They go to different planets on every album. No two Kendrick albums sound the same. No two Outkast albums, Kanye, and so on. But KRIT doesn't jump that far left, right, and maybe it's to keep his core fan base so he doesn't alienate them, and because he has more risk because he's independent, right? He doesn't have a major label that can kind of save him with marketing and promotions if he goes too left one day. But I will say he has like the Mobb Deep effect, where Mobb Deep, Hell on Earth, Murder Music, and Infamous, those are three different albums that do not sound the same, but they're all in that grimy realm, and KRIT stays in that like Southern, like like stuff for the trunks, you know what I'm saying? Like it's got some of like the Southern 808s hitting and stuff, like, and you got the soul samples. He operates within a certain realm and he'll experiment, but he doesn't jump to different planets with each album. That's one thing I noticed.
That's fair.
Yeah, compared to his peers, if we're comparing him to like Kendrick, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And like even like an Odyssey, who has his own zone that domain. But we spoke earlier about like him being an old soul. Sometimes, man, as great as these artists are, I'm gonna just throw out a name out here from back in the day. Like Wilson Pickett, man, he was just as good as James Brown, but you don't hear that name. You know what I mean? If you check the resume, he got just as much hits as James did, but for a certain reason, JB just went to another level. Wilson Pickett stayed, you know, in the little in a zone basis. And KRIT just might just be one of those guys. It happens all the time, every generation.
Yeah, every generation. Yep, it's very well said.
It just could be one of those things.
Yeah. For sure. All right, gentlemen, we unpacked a lot in this, you know, short amount of time. But any final thoughts before we conclude for the evening?
Is he the best Southern rapper of the 2010s? I think I might say yes.
Absolutely,
I agree. Wholeheartedly.
And yes, I'm talking about like Lil Wayne and all the little young, you know, whatever.
Sci-Hi the Prince. I like Sci-Hi.
Sci-Hi is actually talented too. Yeah. You know.
We counting J. Cole too? Yes, because he's from North Carolina. Yes.
You know what? I think KRIT has a better catalog than Cole.
Easily. It's funny because,
to be very honest with you, Cole might be a slightly on the raps. You know, it's comparable though, but output, like final output, I think KRIT got it, bro.
I said, listen, I'll go as far as, and I like Cole. I was a Cole fan before Kendrick and before KRIT, but lyrically, you know, and this no disrespect to Cole, but I think KRIT will wash him if it really came down bar for bar, and KRIT went that direction. I think he will wash him on the not by like a landslide, but I think he will wash him. On
well, a wash usually means a landslide.
Well, though, I was trying to say respectfully.
Yeah, you know what? If it wasn't for the fact that I heard the last Cole album, I might agree with you. The last Cole album, I felt like he's stepping it up. So, like I said, I think it will be a little closer. You know what? They actually worked together on the KRIT is here on his last.
Yeah, KRIT is here, and they also had a track with Kendrick on one of the DJ Khaled albums when they were like kind of the next three.
I gotta go back and listen to that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and KRIT went off on that, you know, and then of course you got the the One Train. You know what I mean? With Cole and Cole wasn't on that one, but
Joey Badass Kendrick. I think he out-rapped Kendrick, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Yo, even his Big Boy, I think he's, you know what, you want to know where I think he snapped on the Big Boy Gossip. He snapped. He outdid UGK and Big Boy on that.
Yeah, he was straight Pimp C on that one.
He was. You know what? I can't say Pimp C because I think KRIT is a better rapper than Pimp. Pimp C is like swag, you know what I mean, like style. But I've never looked at him as like a rapper.
I'm saying elevation, you know, like I said before, we had the swagger of Pimp C, but more like the lyrical ability of Bun.
But yes, lyrical ability of Bun B. Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, best Southern rapper of the 2010s. But yeah, I'm still listening to this album.
Same.
I like where he went, and yeah, like I said, I'm stuck on that last fourth. I guess the part where he's hurt the most. And I'm not in a relationship, so I don't know why this is drawing me in. But yeah, I still want to I'm still letting the 38-minute project set in.
Oh yeah, everybody in feels. But all right, gentlemen, we'll wrap things up here. We're gonna let this album marinate. But let us know what you think. Comment section. What's up on YouTube? You know, obviously we're gonna have the audio streams up shortly. But let us know how you think, where this ranks, and what maybe some of your best KRIT projects.
And if you hate the album, tell us why. Makes sense in the process too.
Oh yeah. Don't hate just to hate, player.
Yeah, exactly.
Out to the sundial.
All right.
All right, Tress Row out. Peace.
Peace.
Yep.